So, you've decided to board the hype train, set course for Calad, and join in with the Eldfall Chronicles wargame. But you're not sure where to start? Well, we got you covered. Let's take a look. Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we are going to look at where you start with the mighty Eldfall Chronicles from Freecompany. If you've not seen this before, if you've seen little bits and pieces but you're not entirely sure what it's all about, this video is going to be talking about briefly what the system is, very briefly about some of the factions that are involved in the game, where it's sort of going, but more about what options you have for actually joining the game. So, before we get started, of course, thank you to our channel members and Patreons, especially Runic Wolf and Chaos Discordia and the mighty Joe Rogers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your continued support. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all of our members and subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and like and share and give us a comment. Let us know what you think of Eldfall. But with that said, what do you think about Eldfall? Maybe you don't know what it is. We have beautiful miniatures on screen. Aren't they stunning? Yes, they are. But what is it? Let's get into that. So in brief, it is a true skirmish fantasy wargame. We're talking 3 or 4 minis per side in the current format of 60 to 65 points. The game actually supports solo, co-op and competitive play, so you have the option to play how you like. If you don't want to go out there and beat your friends up, you can join up together and start slaughtering monsters. It's played on a 3x3 or 3 foot by 3 foot, so about 91 centimeters ish by 91 centimeters table. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play for a game, depending on your experience, depending on what type of game you play. And it's real cinematic gameplay. So what we're talking about here is, with a lot of war games, you have your turn and then you sit down and you find out what your opponent's going to do to you. In Eldfall, when you are activating your miniatures, there is the possibility for your opponent to respond to that. They can shoot arrows at you, they can dodge out of the way, they can cast spells at you, or if you are engaged in close combat, they can poke you with their pokey stick just as well as you can poke them. So, not quite as well, but that means that your choices have consequences beyond the usual how many saves does the enemy throw. Because of the scale as well, it's a very violent game. It can be very quick. It keeps the time short, but it's not necessarily very bloody because there's not a lot of people to die. It doesn't stop it being very awesome. It has lots of different ways to play. So you have like a magic system. You have the ability to conjure things into being. We'll talk about a little bit more about that later. We have assassin, murdered death elves. We have straight up basic kind of straightforward Asian choppy killy people. It's all in here. What I love about this system is how tight and compact it feels, how well it works. When you're playing the game, it's really visceral, it's really engaging, and it's a real blast. It's a lot of fun. I'm not here necessarily to sell it to you, but if you've not played it, I recommend that you get out there and you find yourself a demo. It's certainly taking off around us, and in other countries as well. We're hearing lots of people getting on board, so I'd recommend you check it out. But let's enough selling. Let's talk about the buying, the bit where you actually do the fun stuff. So what do you need to play? Surprisingly, it's a war game. You will need miniatures. You will need rules, because that always helps, and you'll need accessories, because we do love to accessorize, darling. And you will need a playing space of that 3x3 board. Let's talk about that. Let's dive into it all. So the factions, first of all, if you're going to buy miniatures, they're going to be of factions. There are currently 4 available in the game. The Coalition of Thenian, Empire of Soga, woo! Guess who I play? The Helian League and the Sand Kingdoms. We are about to get Oni and Goblins. They're about to drop in as well. So we're going to see more from those in the coming months, to be honest with you. they are releasing as a part of the Northern Wind game. That is, it's a dungeon crawler coming from Freecompany, and those factions will be contained within it. I believe they're coming later as well, separately, but for the most part, to start off with, you're going to be looking at getting them in that set. But let's talk about these guys a little bit more in some detail. So, to get into the game, the smallest, quickest, easiest way is with a faction starter. You get 4 miniatures. The unit cards, because this game does use unit cards, and it has a RRP of €39. Other companies discount it, but that's if you're buying it direct from Freecompany. Let us have a look at some of these faction starters. First we have the Coalition of Thenian. So there are 4 miniatures in the box. Just a bit of a zoom in on the right. As you can see, by the pointy ears, these guys are elves. They're kind of the original inhabitants of Kalad. Playstyle, you are looking at assassin murder elves. These guys can do things like make themselves incorporeal and float through walls to stab you in the back of the head there. They are unpleasantness, they are quick, but they are the epitome of a glass cannon, and they are gorgeous. Now these miniatures are all 34mm in a material called Unicool, which is a plastic resin. I've built several of these. I've built all the starter sets for all the factions. I don't have a problem, it's fine, but I will say that all of the miniatures have been crisp. They've had very few, if any, mold lines and a few contact points needed cleaning up. They're just beautiful. They are really, really beautiful miniatures, and these pictures do not do them justice. As I say, they are 34mm, and just, yeah, what you see on screen, sometimes you get miniatures that it's the paint job that elevates. These paint jobs are beautiful, don't get me wrong. The miniatures, just as pretty. Even when they come out in the plastic, it's just pretty. Anyway, so that's Thenian. Then we have, Empire of Soga. Now these are, as you can see, of an Asian persuasion. They are probably the most simplistic, direct sort of gameplay style in the game. Whereas most of the other armies have a bit of magic, or they have a sneaky, or they have a trick to rely on. What Soga do is the violence. The lady in the bottom right, the Onataoshi, has won me every game that I've played so far, because she just sort of gets in the middle and does the slicey dicey, and then there's no enemies anymore. It's quite good fun. I do enjoy it immensely. But if you're looking for a kind of simplistic way into the game, this is definitely the guys to go for, and if you like the Asian aesthetic, of course. Then we have the Helian League. These are the paladins of the world, and gameplay wise, they form a murder ball. The Hierophant, the lady on top left with the pink hair and the big cloak, she does lots of buffing on her troops and then sends them out, and they go doink on the enemy, and then the enemy goes and falls over and dies. There is a little bit of flaming magic there, as you can see, but predominantly these are a murder ball that moves up the field, self-supporting, and then finishing off the enemy when they get up close. So they're a lot of fun, but very different playstyle from Soga. Very different playstyle from them. And then finally we have the Sand Kingdoms. Broken? They're not broken. They're broken. Right, what you are looking at here is, as you can see, these are kind of like that Middle Eastern Arabic type feel. What their shtick is these are all mages. These are all about the magic, and their big trick is to summon creatures to go off and do the fighting. Because if you get close to these guys, they tend to melt. They don't like sharp objects up close, basically. But yeah, they are bringing things into existence and then throwing them at the enemy. It's glorious. But we'll talk more about summoning and the other monsters and creatures and such in a moment. Before I move on, the other 2 factions that will be coming, the Goblins and the Oni, so they're coming later with Northern Winds. What you're going to be looking at with those is that Oni are very much an army that has a smaller number of miniatures but a larger number of activations, so they hit harder, they're more durable, but there's fewer of them on the field. By comparison, goblins are going to out-activate everybody. They lack a lot of tricks, and they have a lot of sort of smaller miniatures and some bigger ones. They're kind of a little bit, yeah, they're a little bit more straightforward, I get the impression. Absolutely. But they are gorgeous as well. I'm not going to share pictures of them today. You can find them online, and we'll probably cover them in detail later, but they are stunning. The cards for the Oni and for the goblins, they are going to come in the boxes that come out for them, the core boxes that come out for them later, basically. So as I understand, that's with Northern Winds. So you'll get the skirmish cards, so the war game cards, in with the board game as well, so you can use them out of the box and just play, which is phenomenal. It has to be said. There's also another faction, if you do some digging around, called Profane. They're not actually a faction. They are mostly there to be hireable in certain conditions, but mostly they're there to be summoned into existence. Again, talk about that in a minute. So that's a brief overview of your factions, and we love them. So there are different ways to get into the game. As we say, we've just done the faction starters. One of the most common ways is actually the 2-player starter box. Now, these are rammed, and I got one of these. I actually got the other one with the Soga and the Helion. So the one you're looking at on screen at the moment is the Sand Kingdoms and Thenian. I got the other one, and I had it for a couple of days, and then I got this one too. So I ended up with both of the starter sets. Why? Well, you have the 2 full starter armies in that you just saw previously. So that individual box that you got before with just the units of the cards, you get everything that's in those boxes. You also get a rule book, which you didn't get with the faction starter. You get 2 sets of tokens. So Eldfall uses quite a few tokens to track various things, conditions and wounds and status of activations. They are important and crucial in the game. There are 2 sets of those, so both armies have a set of these tokens. You also get 1 set of templates, possibly the only downside. There are instances where you use teardrop templates and you use circular templates. It's mostly for the mages, it's mostly for that kind of shenanigans. There's only 1 of those in the box. And then there are 4 dice, 2 white, 2 black. Plus you get an elemental monster mini with all of its abilities and stuff like that. So you have 2 full starter armies and all the MacGuffin apart from a table to get playing. And that is €79.90. So buying that is cheaper than buying 2 faction starters, and you get the rulebook, and you get the tokens, and you get the templates, and you get the dice, and you get the elemental monster. So these are incredibly good deals. Now I said before, it's a 3 to 4 miniature game. So you are actually getting full armies with this, and full armies that you could, with the way that the tournament system is currently set up, run convincingly in a tournament. So that's really cool for €79.90. If you are sensible, unlike me, you can split this with a friend. Talk about more about that in a sec. But you can split this with a friend and you end up with an army each and all the rest of it. It's a really good deal for sub €80, in my opinion. Yeah. Let me talk about some accessories. Rulebooks are available as accessories. You need more tokens. Scheme cards, upgrade cards, creatures for summoning, and dice. Right, let's get into that. So the rulebook is available for purchase as well. So you get 1 copy in the 2-player starter, but you can buy more. It's a softcover A5, 90 plus pages. It's the full version 1 rules. It includes schemes and quests. These are the things that you need to play the game. Eldfall is a mission-based system. And you will have a quest that you need to complete, and then you will have schemes which are specific to each faction. There are different scheme sets for different factions that you'll try and achieve as well to get hidden objectives, basically. You'll get additional points for in the mission. €12 RRP for that rulebook, which is not bad actually. It's a really good book, I have to say. It's incredibly well written. I was genuinely surprised, especially for a version 1. Normally you would expect a degree of rules that you read and go, what was What? No, I'll do that again. I don't recall having that in this book. I don't recall seeing any glaring typos or anything like that. It's very well edited, very well put together, and it's beautiful. The artwork in there is stunning. €12, well worth your money. Of course, if you don't want to do that, you can just download it for free. That's right, free rulebook available from the Eldfall website, link in the description below. But if you're anything like me and a Luddite and old, and you like touching things and holding them and cuddling them because they're books, then you can buy one. The card packs, we have 2 different card packs, schemes and upgrades. So each of these card packs contains 50 cards, and each of these card packs contains cards for all 4 of the currently released factions. So you will have in those card packs the Athenian cards, you'll have the Soga cards, you'll have the Helian cards. Schemes, these are, as I said, submissions effectively. So when you first start out the game, will you need them? Maybe not, especially because you've got them in the rulebook. But if you're going to play this a lot, I'd certainly say they're worth the invest. Equally, the upgrades available in the book, but the cards also split down by faction. Nice to have. So if you do buy the 2-player starter set and you split it, and then you buy a set of these cards, you can then split that. And if you find another set of buddies, if you have 3 friends that are getting into this simultaneously and you each get a different faction, you can buy 1 set of cards and split it 4 ways. For €12, awesome. €3 each, you know, it's great, it works. So the card packs, I would say, are not essential, but they're a quality of life thing. And if you're anything like me and you're a bit of a completionist, the cards are incredibly good quality. They're beautiful. I was quite impressed actually for €12. I've had some card packs from companies before that are just, you're like, well, I mean, it's a card, but it's a big crap. Pardon my language. These are not. These have the proper ooh factor where you open them up and the card stock is good quality and the images are beautiful and yeah. Before I start getting all emotional about cards, let's move on. I didn't include tokens on this. We can't buy tokens currently. From memory, we can download them and print them off, which is fine. But there are other companies that are producing the sort of acrylic and wood ones and all the rest of it. Those are coming out. So we're seeing those more widely available across the wargaming sphere. But I've also seen some that are 3D printed, some that are laser cut. So you do have options on there. Earth and Creatures expansion. Now, we talked a little bit about the Broken Sand Kingdoms earlier. Their shtick is summoning stuff, and this is a box of stuff to summon. So if you do go Sand Kingdoms, you will probably be getting the Earth and Creatures expansion at some point. Now, this is a nearly €100 RRP box for 7 miniatures and the associated cards. But these guys are big. The Colossus is 14 centimeters tall. As a scale, these are big and they are beautiful and they are well worth the money. There is no 2 ways about it. You don't have to buy them like this. You can buy them as like just individual sets. So you can get like the 2 golems in the middle there. You can buy them in a box if you don't want to do it all in one hit. This is the cheapest way to do it. You also get behavior cards. So if you want to play them and you want to do co-op and you want them to be the enemy, you can do that. And you have upgrade cards in here as well and bits and pieces like that. So, no, you don't have upgrade cards. You have unit cards. That's a typo. Ignore the upgrade card thing. I don't think that's something that's in this box. But yeah, these are beautiful ones. And if you're going for Sand Kingdoms, why do I keep saying Desert Kingdoms? It's me age. If you're going for Sand Kingdoms, this is almost a must-buy. Almost. I would, definitely, if I was. Absolutely. You'll also have accessories like dice. So there are faction dice available. There's a set per faction, 4 dice of D20, because this is a D20 system, and they are €10 per box, if you so desire. The Soga ones are calling me, but my local plastic crack supplier, unfortunately, never has the Soga ones in stock, which is saving me €10 every time he doesn't do it. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we persist. So let's look at the buy-in. If you're going to go in as a 2-player combo, you're going to split this with a buddy. because you have friends, because that's important. Even though you can play this solo, it's important to have friends. If you're going in as a 2-player starter, I would recommend that you get the 2-player starter, whichever one takes your fancy. They are all awesome. There is no best faction apart from Soga. There's no technically best faction. You choose the one that you want. You get an extra rulebook because there's only one in the 2-player starter, so they let you split it. Get the upgrade deck, get the scheme deck, because you're going to get to those later. You're going to want them later. Trust me, that is an important thing that you will need. That will come to about €115.90. As I say, discounted places will have them discounted. It's kind of in the name. Then that will get you to under €60 per person for a fully set up game, which I don't think is bad at all, really. For just under €120 getting 2 players going, I don't think that's awful in any stretch of the imagination, but your mileage may vary. But what if you don't have buddies? If you're going single player and you just get a faction starter, they're about €39. You're going to need a rulebook because you don't get one in that box. The upgrade deck, the scheme deck, and the dice, because the 2-player starter set does come with dice. If you don't already have D20s, you're going to need some. That'll get you to a buy-in of €85, which is still not awful. Yes, it's more than doing the 2-player starter set. And no, you don't have tokens in this situation, so you're going to have to sort your token situation out. But it's still not a ridiculous buy-in, especially because that gets you 4 miniatures. The game is played with 3, so you don't just have a army here, you have multiple armies here. Multiple ways you can put this together. The upgrade deck lets you then customize those multiple ones, because there's RPG elements into this game. So those upgrades, other weapons, armor, buffs, so the mages get things that they can buff their range with and stuff like that. You can choose the way that your army is customized together. So even if you have the same 3 miniatures repeatedly, they won't necessarily play the same. There's things you can do about it. So having that upgrade deck in play just gives you more life in this, and the 4 miniatures is perfectly, it's awesome to get into the game. You have more than enough to be learning here. For a field of combat, you're looking at a 3x3 sort of play area. This is an image of the official set of terrain, card terrain that was around for a while. It gives you an idea of the volume of terrain you're looking at. As you see, it's not incredibly heavy. All you need is some terrain that's 34mm. Or 34mm compatible. There's a lot of good quality MDF. There's a lot of good stuff that you can print yourself if you have a 3D printer. But if not, I'd recommend checking out Battle Systems. They are a card terrain manufacturer, and you can get one of their big boxes. It's under €100 last I checked. And I would say it will do easily 1.5 tables for Eldfall. It's really lovely stuff. We're going to do a review of that later. I actually have a set that they sent to me. I need to do a review of that one. So I'm going to do that with Eldfall. I'm going to put that one later. But as you can see, unlike some of the systems that are out there, it's not an intimidating amount of terrain. It's not really scary. So, yeah, I would say if you are sensible, if you don't go completely berserk, you can end up with a really nice table of 3x3, including a mat, for under €150, which, again, there are systems out there, the bigger ones, Bolt Action, Infinity, you're not getting half a table for that. So it's nice that you have the option to have this, it's not just about buying it as well, it's about storing it. You end up with this massive terrain. It can be, he says, knowing that he has 3 Infinity tables and about 2 Bolt Action tables in his attic, it takes up a lot of space. You know it. It's something you're always tripping over. You need to make sure you have sufficient space to store that. This volume of terrain sets the scene, cinematic, but it's not obscene to buy. It's not crazy to store. There's lots of different places you can get it. You can download buildings that you can cut and put together and stuff like that as well. So, yeah, we're going to talk about buildings and terrain and all that kind of thing for Eldfall in more detail later. But as an idea, pencil yourself in €150 for terrain. If you want to go all in and do something nice, Battle Systems, decent mat, and you're away. should be about that kind of figure. So not crazy by any stretch of the imagination. Because those keeping count, we're now at under 250 euros if you go in on your own to get started in the system and have a full army and a full table of terrain. That's not bonkers in the wargaming world. If you're going in with a friend, then you're, assuming you're splitting everything 50-50, then you personally are getting to change out of 150 euros to get into a game, including terrain, if you're splitting everything halfway. That's just not bad either. That's just absolutely fine. Perfectly reasonable. It's the most fun, most beautiful game that you won't feel horrified to look at the cost of your shopping cart when buying into. Anyway, that's the field of combat. So what's next? Expansion sets and the Wayfarers pack. This is kind of a double thing. All of the factions out there at the moment, so the 4 that are out there currently, all have expansions. Now that is 2 miniatures per faction. You can see all 8 of them there. Yes, the Cat Dragoon person is gorgeous. Yes, it is with the Murder Elves. It's a Slayer Dragoon on a Lupus Rex, technically. Yes, she's gorgeous. But though there are 2 miniatures for each of the different factions there. That's called the Wayfarers pack that you can see on screen there, and that is 80 euros. Again, if you go into this with a group of friends and everyone takes a faction, that's 20 euros each, and you get 2 new miniatures with 2 new cards each to add to your faction, to add to your game, which you only need 3, maybe 4 miniatures for. So yeah, you have lots of flexibility then in what you're going to do. If you don't really want to go that completely bonkers and you want to just sort of buy, you're doing this solo or whatever, you can buy those miniatures as individual sets, so just the 2 miniatures together, and they're around the 20 euros mark for the normal sort of sized ones. I think from memory that the Lupus is a little bit, the Cat of Awesomeness, I think is a little bit more expensive. Yes, the Slayer Dragoon, the Cat, and the other characters is 32 euros. It's a little bit more expensive, but again, not completely bonkers. We also have coming up Northern Wind, which is where we're going to see the Oni arrive, where we are going to see the Goblins arrive. They're the same quality. It's all Unicool. If you want to see more about that, I would check out the website. Again, link to the description below, and you can see more of that. That's coming out in the next couple of months, I believe. It was originally a Kickstarter. It's going to be fulfilling, and then it's going to be available for retail to an extent. So that will be dropping, which will give you the option of playing the board game or getting into the, getting into the skirmish war game as well. So that's the direction of this is awesome. And as I understand it, the thing that happens next will then be getting more miniatures, more individuals, and individual miniatures released for each faction as well. So you then expand your roster even further. It's not a bad buy-in for a fantastic game. They have the free rule set already online, so you can go and take a look at that. They have actually a free army builder as well that you can put together as well. So that's there if you prefer to do that. All in all, I think that Eldfall Chronicles is in a fantastic place at the moment. It's in this really sweet spot of having really beautiful miniatures, having enough range and options that you can do plenty with it. You've got the free rule set there. They're releasing new quests and things like that on the website on a semi-regular basis. There's all kinds of things you can add into this system. You can play it solo, you can play it co-op, all the rest of it. And it's only growing, it's only going further from here. I looked at it for a while, and now that I'm engaged with it, the price point of it is phenomenal. There's never been a better time. So whether you go in with that faction starter, whether you go in with a 2-player and you split it, whether you go in with a 2-player and keep it all for yourself because you're greedy, or whether you wait for Northern Wind and go in with either the Oni or with Goblins, there's lots of different ways of getting into this system, and none of them are going to cost you the earth. And I promise you that whichever route you take, you're going to have fun, because this is a phenomenal system, and you really owe it to yourself to get involved. So that's how you start with Eldfall Chronicles right now and what it's going to cost you. Those are your different routes. If you have any questions about this, let us know in the comments below. Are you getting involved? Have you got involved? If so, which faction is the best? Clearly Soga, but you can let me know which one you think and be wrong. That's absolutely fine. But apart from that, look forward to more stuff coming about Eldfall Chronicles soon. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.